the one I had to really avoid was raw foods.
Like sushi. Not that you like sushi anyway.
Go beyond that. So that guy, sushi,
So like
you
eggs.
Well,
I don't know, raw eggs is a bit rough.
Yeah, I'm thinking salads.
And
fruits.
Wow.
So like, in the summer, in the heat here.
Yeah, nice fresh one.
Or if you're
Hey, I'm Tom.
And I'm Andy.
And this is On the Node, a podcast about two best mates and one cancer journey. Andy, how are you, mate?
The same as I was yesterday when we filmed the last one.
And the day before.
And the day before. But it is so hot in Hong Kong at the moment. It is stressing out my Hickman.
Really?
But apart from that, I'm coping day by day.
The good thing about it being really hot is that obviously we can wear hats.
Which I do anyway at the moment.
Correct, but I think we need to acknowledge the fact that we've coincidentally worn the same hat. And there's actually a story behind that hat, isn't there? The one that you're wearing.
Yeah, I believe it was gifted to me
Correct.
by a good friend when they came to visit me for the first time I had chemotherapy.
Correct. I think you were a bit unsure about it at times, but...
And still am.
Well, there you go. Leave a comment in the section and we can conclude whether it's a good one or not.
Yeah, and when you say coincidence, it was that I turned up to your place and you've just cracked the same hat out after.
Yeah, correct. Good hats. Any sponsorship, more than welcome. Right, speaking of which, question time. We had a question in overnight from your boy Roland. His question... Actually, it's interesting how the questions are now bizarrely relating to the episodes that, broadly speaking, we're going to cover. But his question was, what do you miss more, hair or steak?
Well, there's a long answer and a short answer, and I'll give something in between. Obviously, my hair is a bigger emotional, physical burden on me day to day. And I think I know where Roland's question comes from, which we'll get to in a lot more detail actually in today's episode. But essentially, the first time I went through chemotherapy, I didn't eat much meat, and therefore I didn't eat steak, and I certainly didn't eat steak when it was sort of rare or pink and therefore dangerous for me to eat. So he was probably indicating that maybe I might miss that. But today, as of this time round,
correct,
I eat a lot more red meat and beef. And part of that is, we touched upon it in the past, is that I've been suffering from anemia as part of the treatment. So my doctor quite literally told me, eat more beef, eat more red meat. So I'm not missing steak so much this time, Roland. And I... would still have missed my hair more, even if I was missing out on the steak.
Yeah. I thought that is where you would conclude that question. But Roland, thank you very much. Keep firing them in, guys. Keen that we ask as many questions as possible to Andy as we go through this. And
Tom, I know that his cricket career is having a summer pause.
Yeah.
But if you have more questions, when we get to the relaunch of the new season, he'll be very keen to answer.
Correct. Pre-season starts mid-August.
It's bloody early.
That's going to be bloody hot as well.
Oh, I couldn't imagine.
Sweaty Betty. Anyway, notwithstanding that, mate, what are we talking about today?
So today we are talking about the lifestyle changes that I both had to go through, and some of them were more voluntary throughout the course of my cancer treatment.
Got it. And I suppose before we get into what those lifestyle changes were specifically, at what point, I guess going back to the whole planning situation, are you planning these lifestyle changes in the lead up to you starting your chemo, like research? How do you come to a conclusion on what it is you'll need to do, voluntarily at least? Yeah,
so some of the lifestyle changes were medically advised.
Yeah.
So my doctor told me, you have to do this. And he would also tell me some things that he recommended I do, and that I should make those lifestyle changes. And others were kind of so bleeding obvious that I didn't even ask the question and never Googled it.
Yeah, booze.
Booze, primarily, and others. I think we mentioned once before a friend of ours. His mum
did a load of research. Big up, friend's mum,
and sent us the academic paper.
Yeah.
About one of the optional things we tried as part of the chemotherapy in the first few cycles, which we'll kind of get to. So yeah, it was really a mix between research, advice, common sense, and you're right in terms of when did we kind of come up with those things. It was in that, before the very first session, and the ones where we felt they weren't working out, we would change and adjust them throughout the cycles, essentially.
Got it. So let's kind of dive straight into it. I guess when you're gearing up, we've spoken about hospital food before, but yeah, food is a topic on everyone's lips, if you pardon the pun, as it pertains to health and stuff like that. Another very good one, not just a pretty face.
Yeah.
Where did you start with food?
So we certainly started with the medical advice regarding it.
Which was what?
Which was, in essence, and touching on our side effects episode with my neutropenia and being immune compromised.
Yeah.
And broadly speaking, lymphoma patients are immune compromised by default, even if they're not neutropenic.
Yeah.
So you're more vulnerable. And that meant reducing, like the overall theme of the kind of examples I'll give is reducing bacteria content in my diet.
Right.
In the sense of meat has various contaminants, so rarer meat can have bacteria build up. So if you have
rarer as in
like rare beef, rare steak,
yeah.
like very like pink meats essentially.
Not like a rare wagyu.
Yeah, and yes, not in terms of how common.
Rare cow.
Yeah, not specifically breeds and exotic meats.
Yeah,
it wasn't that I avoid eating tigers, but don't worry, beef is fine. So then your white meats like pork and chicken can have parasites in them and things like that, which for a normal immune system, you'd be able to fight off quite easily. And when you are immune compromised, you're just a little bit more exposed. So that was that led to a massive reduction in meat in my diet. I was maybe eating meat twice a week.
And what was it that you were eating twice a week if it was meat?
It would be, maybe it would be stir-fried beef, but like really cooked through. Quite grey.
Well done.
Quite grey. It could be
charred
chicken breast. It could be fish. It was, those sort of treat meals of having, animal proteins were not really that different. But I wouldn't have. Generally, I wasn't eating like a steak.
Yeah.
I did it once, I think, in the 6 months.
Got it. Why is steak potentially more dangerous for you?
Because I like to enjoy it when it's medium rare, and it's really sad if it's well done. Sorry, everybody who likes a well done steak, but that's just the reality.
Sorry to veggies and vegans as well.
Sorry, but not really.
Yeah.
But if you're having a grey slab of meat, it's pretty safe for you to eat.
Yeah.
It's just not that enjoyable.
But there is a bacteria in the meat that can potentially then get into your body and then cause you harm.
There's always a risk.
Yeah, okay,
but
fine.
The more you cook something through, the less that is a problem.
Got it. So in effect, you became like a vegetarian.
Flexitarian is, I think, the modern millennial term for it.
What was that like initially?
Honestly, not a huge change. We've experimented with it over time in the past and tried to, like a lot of people these days, try to reduce it so you're not having it in every meal.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're really craving a particular dish and you go, oh well, can't have that today, then it's a bit bit more disappointing.
And what about, obviously, you know, I'm a sucker for a taco chaka. So for those of you that don't know, taco chaka is an excellent, well, Tex-Mex place in a place called Sai Pun, which is on the
West side
of Hong Kong Island. And
dressed for it.
yeah, I am very much dressed for it, which is a good thing. I'll take that as a compliment. But within that trip to Taco Chaka, various processed foods get demolished, and I always feel a bit guilty about it afterwards. I guess, to ask a more serious question, what about kind of, you know, the things that we all love but are really not healthy for us? Did you cut those out entirely, the processed foods?
Pretty much, yeah. So processed foods, I don't think I had like a crisp or a potato chip for our American friends,
Potato
like literally
chip.
for like 6 months. Which, you know, sometimes you just want a nibble. You might not be having them daily.
You know what? I love a Kit Kat followed by
Yeah,
a bag
sweets,
of crisps.
things like.
I'm not sweets. I'm more Kit Kat crisp. I'm quite savoury.
Yeah, but well,
Nachos.
Kit Kat's not savoury.
Yeah, no, but it's the
biscuit in the
chocolate and then the
Okay.
combination. It's
The-
glorious.
The only time I'd have a sweet would be the day of the infusion,
Right.
because the taste of the drugs, you could taste it in your mouth.
Oh,
So I would have a sweet to
Have a
kind of like a
Starburst.
sherbet lemon sort of
okay,
thing.
fine. Little
So
one that you can
Some
suck on
a
for a
boiled
while.
sweet generally. Otherwise, I didn't have them. And then the reason why, in particular with sweets, is to try and reduce the sugar content
Yeah.
in your diet, because cancer cells feed off glucose essentially.
Right.
So if you reduce, obviously, you know, you're still having natural glucose through any food you're
Yeah.
eating, any carbs and you know, fruits and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're just reducing the additional sugar in your diet, it's always going to help you in general, but it also
In general, correct.
but in addition here. But I think the one that is probably more surprising, right, like processed food is kind of obvious, you know, processed foods equals bad is the, you know, the general health statement.
Yeah.
But the one I had to really avoid was raw foods.
Like sushi. Not that you like sushi anyway.
Go beyond that. So that guy, sushi,
So like
you
eggs.
well,
I don't know. Raw eggs is a bit rough. Isn't it?
yeah, I'm thinking
But go on,
salads.
give us- oh,
and
salads. Wow.
So like, you know, in the summer, in the heat here,
Yeah, nice fresh one.
or if you're going to Lavash and you're having a starter, you don't have a choice.
Yeah,
It's
if,
only
if you take a vegan to Lavash,
they have
they
the
have
option.
no other choice except to have food. By the way, Lavash, should we tell the story?
Well,
It's a bit of a maybe not. It's a bit of a non sequitur. But
yeah, well, let's skip that. Just
Yeah,
I'll edit that bit out. So so Lavash is a steak restaurant in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
It's similar to Entrecôte in Paris and in London, and I think they have one in Dubai now. Basically, it's salad, steak, and fries. That's it. That's
that's
the
it.
menu.
That's all she wrote.
So couldn't eat salad, and
that's general salad.
yeah, or going to Pret and like getting like a cold sandwich. You know, it's got salad. It's food that was made the day before and sits there.
Because that's where bacteria can build up.
Correct. So it has to be completely cooked. And fruit is the other one. So I could only eat what I think they call hard-skinned or thick-skinned fruits. So
Like
I
a
personally
pear?
don't eat bananas, but
Oh,
oranges.
Not a pear.
Not a pear. Pear would be
Because
soft.
you're eating the
Correct.
right.
So no
yeah,
berries.
Orange juice.
Yeah.
Orange juice. Oranges.
Yeah, oranges are fine.
Bananas.
I don't suck on-
pineapples. They've got a pretty
I
hard
think-
exterior.
I don't think I ate pineapple because the preparation of them often means pushing a knife around the outside while also, but then like repeatedly doing that. So you're
Right.
basically, whatever you cut the first
Sticking
time off, you then
bacteria and back
correct,
into it.
stick it back in.
Kiwis.
Would be arguably fine if
Anyway,
you cut them.
we're not going to go through every,
every
single
fruit.
fruit.
But the point is, soft-skinned fruits couldn't eat. I had to vigorously wash any kind of fruit I ate anyway.
What are you washing it in?
Oh, like a fruit and veg wash.
Oh, really?
Right? Yeah,
so
yeah,
there's a specific washer
it's like
liquid for fruit and veg.
yeah, which I guess is some sort of biodegradable, food
well,
safe
you'd hope
soap.
so.
Yeah, but the one that my favourite fruit is apples, basically. Or my favourite like snacking fruit is
Classic.
apples.
What's Granny Smith or
Yeah.
Pink Lady? I love a Pink Lady.
You really want to get into the details of the
Yeah.
fruit tonight. But the thing is I was allowed to eat apples if they were washed and then peeled, and
Oh.
all I can describe is that's like licking a tennis ball. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
it's just not an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
Love the crisp skin. Don't give me the shaved apple.
Yeah, don't give me a tennis ball.
Um,
Okay, so, but you were able to prepare very fresh salads, but you had to douse it in this.
Yeah, but we didn't do that
But
because it's
you
just
didn't do it.
even
Too
then
much
it's
risk.
even then the risk's high
Wow.
because you never know what, like, let's say a piece of lettuce,
Yeah.
the leaf curls so much. All
Yeah.
you need is one bit of bacteria under a bit that you didn't wash
no,
properly.
yeah, and that's it. So what did your typical day look like then, from a food standpoint, when you were going through this?
Well, it was home cooked food for the
Yeah,
most
of course,
part. As we've talked about before, Lan's an excellent chef,
Yeah.
cook, and stuff. And she would just, lots of chickpeas. So we tried to get quite a lot of protein in my.
Struggle with those chickpeas.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you love your Indian foods and stuff.
I love them,
Right.
but
Oh, the other side.
yeah,
Got you. Yeah, not a problem for me.
TMI, too much information.
So yeah, it's like lots of sort of trying to get more plant-based proteins in.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, just all cooked through really is the kind of typical routine. The routine that did change though was around the chemotherapy itself, around the infusion.
Talk to us. I
So
feel like you were teasing me a bit there.
I was waiting for the big question.
Yeah.
So again, a academic paper we read, and this is actually the one that our friend's mum sent us. And
Stacey's mum.
it's a theory, and so I will not advocate this, and I'm not putting my hands up and say, oh, you should do this for anyone who's going through treatment. It's something I experimented with, and I actually weaned off it and didn't do it after sort of 3 or 4 infusions. We stopped doing it. But essentially, I fasted for...
I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah, so I
And
would...
I was like, no.
So I would...
What?
Yeah, it is not easy, and if it causes more misery than it does joy. So essentially, I'd fast for 48 hours before an infusion, and for
No food at all.
no food, just water, and for 24 hours after.
No. So effectively, you didn't eat for 3 days.
Correct.
Ugh.
And the theory behind that, like the sort of the science that was kind of covered off in this paper, was that, and it goes back to that comment I made earlier about cancer feeds off glucose. And if you put your body in that sort of extreme fight mode, essentially, similar to people who kind of do intermittent fasting diets, it puts stress on your system to kind of fight things off. And that includes the cancer cells. And also, by starving the cancer cells, the theory was that the chemotherapy would be more successful, or it would basically, it wouldn't have to compete with like glucose. The cancer cells aren't being fed while they're also being attacked. They're only being attacked by the chemo.
Why did you jib that off?
Because it got to the point, like I was sort of hinting at, is the misery it caused
wasn't worth it.
And the theory was, one of the sort of expected outcomes that's covered off in the paper was about nausea and reduction in nausea. And I actually started thinking that the nausea got so bad by that 3rd day, which was sort of day 1 after the chemo, that I didn't know if it was starvation or chemo.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is just not worth it.
Yeah.
So we dialed it down quite a lot from that original 48 hours before to 24 hours after, to basically skipping breakfast and lunch the day of the infusion and having a very light dinner that night, just like chicken soup.
Did you feel better once you stopped fasting?
I think I did, which is why we continued with that for the remaining sessions. Again, this might not be everyone's experience, and no doctor has ever advised me to do that. It was purely something we read about.
Got it. Cool. So that's food.
Yes.
We both enjoy an Aperol Spritz on a Friday night.
Or a G&T.
Or a G&T.
Or just a beer, really.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Beer's usually our go-to. But when it's nice and warm, Aperol, you can't beat it. But
Which
anyway,
is 9 months of the year.
yeah, correct. What I'm getting at is, we're partial, we're social, we enjoy that. We never take it overboard.
Mm.
But I guess that had to stop totally, right?
So this is the one that it was a bit of a common sense thing.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We never asked my doctor about it, because I kind of feel like if you ask any doctor about drinking alcohol, they're just going to be like, in moderation or not at all.
Yeah.
So we never asked the question, but the chemotherapy does so much damage to your liver and kidneys through processing those the chemicals, the toxins, that we didn't want to add more to the game. So
plus you've become deeply familiar with all the 0%.
Yeah, that's more this time
Kong.
round.
Okay.
I didn't really do that last time round.
Fine, fair enough.
Yeah,
maybe that. To be fair, a lot of development has gone into the 0%. So the last 12 to 18 months. Yeah. So that could be why.
But yeah, that and I think generally like taking a little bit more of a liberal attitude to chemotherapy this time round, which we can talk about in the future. Right?
That we will.
Yeah.
Okay, so food and drink done, right?
Yeah, I think that's the kind of key topics on the food and drink side of lifestyle.
So then I guess we talked about fatigue in the last episode, or maybe the episode before, I can't even remember. And exercise. What were you doing exercise wise before chemo, and how did that then change through treatment?
Yeah, so I used to run in Hong Kong quite a lot.
Yeah.
I'm no ultra runner. I'm only running 5 or 6K.
Yeah.
But I was sort of doing that 3 to 5 times a week, depending on the week. Before work, I find it really therapeutic.
And it's a beautiful run down where you live, Kennedy Town, Harbourfront. For those of you that don't know Hong Kong, you're looking back over Chim Cha Choi, TST.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
I can't wait for the comments to just absolutely rattle your pronunciation.
Okay, TST. I should have just said TST.
But that harbourfront run is like a beautiful way to start the day. I'd run to the ferry piers in Central and back. And I would also go to the gym. So weight training. Again, I'm not exactly Arnold, but I did enjoy just trying to stay fit and healthy.
Yeah.
After chemo, and we talked about it before from your friend's question, but I think for anyone who's not caught that episode, anyone who's not caught that, essentially,
he'll be delighted. By the way, he keeps getting referenced.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Well, hello.
In perpetuity.
We make him a regular feature. Yeah. So sweating is a real challenge because of the Hickman catheter. So, and especially as that warms up. In Hong Kong, so I generally avoided cardio throughout that period. Swimming, absolutely off the cards because I've got a hole in the chest. So without wanting to state the obvious, I might not sweat during swimming, but there's other water exposure. So I was kind of limited to sort of weight training. The interesting thing is that's my experience with a Hickman. It's not to say that chemotherapy as a treatment plan limits you from doing those activities. It's the Hickman that did. Yeah,
fine. Do you think you would have been in a place to be able to do the activities? Do you think you would have wanted to have done them if not for the Hickman?
Certainly running, on that second week, I would want to. I'm not a big swimmer. It's just not an activity.
I despise swimming.
It's not one. I thought you loved the sea. You always get in the sea.
I don't mind a bit of sea. I don't mind a bit of wave stuff, but
the actual activity
not like
of
swimming.
Fine, okay, we're aligned there.
Yeah.
So, in places in the world where you can have a port installed, you can still do all those activities. The only one that they really say you absolutely shouldn't do is contact sports.
Yeah.
Having getting smashed with playing rugby while having something in your veins is not too healthy for you. But you can swim once the port wound is healed. You can play tennis and be a bit more active, and that's why a lot of people choose to have the port, but I wasn't given that option, so
got it. So you had to dial back the cardio, focus mainly on then lighter weights, I guess, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you
I couldn't overstrain
And
myself.
to your point, if you did, you'd start sweating, and then that's where the
That
risk
causes
of the
problems.
Hickman comes.
And at the same time, I was still weaker
Yeah.
and more fatigued, so your abilities more limited.
Okay, so that's exercise. Anything else to call out for that?
For exercise, no, not so much.
All right. And then I suppose December 22, so it was the back end of the COVID years in Hong Kong. You know, that, and actually generally social distancing was probably the two words that got used the most over that period of 2 years across the world. What social distancing, if any, did you have to go through, and maybe are going through now, as it pertains to chemo and staying out of people's way?
Yeah, so similar to this general theme of being immune compromised, I had to avoid crowded places.
Yeah.
You know, if you read any pamphlet or leaflet or literature on, you know, patient guidance for going through chemotherapy, they'll tell you to isolate as much as possible, avoid public transport, avoid enclosed spaces like cinemas or stadiums and things like that. So, you know, I missed at least one rugby sevens in Hong Kong during my cancer treatment, and I've missed. Yeah,
it would have been April, right? Because
it was April that year, and I've missed.
Would have been
April
the first one post-COVID as well, so that would have been a big one.
And I missed this year's one, so I've missed two rugby sevens due to cancer treatment in Hong Kong. Big event in Hong Kong, guys.
Huge event.
And you can't travel again because you're in enclosed spaces, so you can't go on a plane. You can't go for a weekend away between your treatments. You know, they don't recommend you do that. Taking a lot of taxis. It was actually in 2022, 2023, I think the mask rule was still, like, masks were still required in public, even outdoors, until April, I think. So
no comment.
So I had to wear a mask anyway, and so the first few months I just fit right in. Nobody noticed. But then I became one of the people that was still wearing a mask months after that sort of concluded. So they were the kind of things that we were pretty well versed in anyway, but for me that kind of continued and carried on. I think the most difficult part of it was really trying to get people to understand, I think.
Like, in what sense?
Like friends and social life. Like, I still wanted to live some form of social life, but communicating to people just how severe it would be if they were sick and around me.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we can tell this anecdote, right? We were going to record something on Monday.
Yeah.
And I pinged you. And you know what? If you were healthy, we would have gone for a couple of beers the way that I was feeling. No one bats an eyelid.
Yeah.
But the fact is how immunocompromised you are. It was a case of saying, look, mate, by the way, I've woken up, I've got this throat, I'm not feeling great. I'm going to pop a cold and flu, probably a bit of Barocca, our favourite supplement drink. Just FYI, and it was a case of, okay, let's postpone until the next day.
Yeah, exactly. So it was examples like that. And it was quite limiting, you know, so we missed a friend's their kid's first birthday party because, again, love kids to bits, but they are walking petri dishes.
They are.
And
if you can somehow get a petri dish walking, that would be an excellent little edit.
Yeah, that's not happening. I'm not an animator yet. So that was one, and then, you know, that same couple, they actually left Hong Kong this year, and they had a goodbye party. Again, it was a lot of children, and I was immune compromised. I can't remember, I might have actually been in hospital, but they invited us to go, and it was something that I couldn't attend, either because I was in hospital or because I was compromised. So it is quite a limiting factor in terms of, like, you need to adjust your expectations.
Cool. So, and broadly speaking, notwithstanding, I don't think you're doing the fasting anymore, right?
No.
For this round, everything else broadly remains the same.
Eating a lot more meat this time around. We've not really cut that out, primarily due to that anemia thing. and I'm arguably exercising more intensely when I'm out, because last time it was a lot more of a predictable 1 week on, 1 week off sort of situation.
Yeah.
This time I could go like several weeks in a hospital room without able to do anything.
Yeah.
So the weeks that I am out and about, I'm trying to exercise pretty much every day at the gym. Eating more beef. I am drinking 0 alcohol beers this time.
You are?
Because they are a option on the table.
Yeah.
And 0 alcohol Aperol spritzers, which I'm
Really?
really fond of.
When are we going to go for one of those?
Taekwon, we've had a few. We can have more.
Okay, fine.
And then the social distancing again is something I'm this weekend, in fact, I'm missing out on going to Cirque du Soleil because which we bought tickets for just before I got ill.
And that's not just for people, is it? That's for insects.
Oh yeah, and mosquito spray.
Yeah.
I'm this week in particular, after my recent incident with an infection.
Yeah.
I don't go very far without a bottle of mosquito spray.
Yeah. Well, look, I think that's it, right, for this episode.
Yes, it was. It was good. I think hopefully people find it interesting to learn a bit more about what does it. We talked a lot about the mental impact and the side effects of going through chemotherapy, but how else does it adjust life? And hopefully people have found it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I'm sure people have as well. So, thank you, mate. I'm Tom.
This is Andy.
And that was On The Node. Do not forget to like, subscribe, follow on all the social media channels, and we will be with you again soon enough. Cheers.